For families in New Orleans, looking for an affordable home can be a daunting process. The Finance Authority of New Orleans is looking to help ease that burden by launching a new down payment assistance program called Own New Orleans. And here to expound on what this program does is the new Executive Director of the Finance Authority of New Orleans, Mr. Damon Burns.
Hello.
Mr. Burns, hello, and welcome to Affordable Housing.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. What is Own New Orleans? It sounds exciting.
It is exciting. Own New Orleans is a mortgage program that provides down payment assistance to families in New Orleans, families that make below 160% of area median income. So it's a lot of families in New Orleans. And essentially what that means in dollar terms is families that make below $99,000 a year, regardless of family size. The Finance Authority has an interest in stimulating home ownership throughout New Orleans. We know that saving for a home is very complicated and can take some time. And once you save for a home, you have to put that money into the home, and then you have to start saving all again.
Right, right.
So in order to incentivize home ownership, the Finance Authority of New Orleans, on behalf of the City of New Orleans, provides down payment assistance and mortgage financing to the families of New Orleans that want to purchase their first home or want to buy their second or third home. We provide services to all those family types, and this program is for the average New Orleanian, the teachers, the nurses, individuals working in the tourism industry, individuals working in the first responders groups. It's for every type of New Orleanian you can think of. That's what we serve.
I can see some senior citizens sitting at home now thinking, what about us? What about us? What about the retirees? What about the people on Social Security?
Well,
are you there for them as well?
Well, we provide a multitude of services. It's not just single family home ownership, but we're also investing money into development of affordable rental projects, specialized projects for seniors. We also provide VA mortgages for veterans. So we have a wide variety of products that are designed to fit every category group of New Orleanians. So we're trying to make sure we're diversified enough to help out.
So you have to keep a close eye on the economy of the city, what's happening with the citizens and how much money they're making and what kind of position they're in as it relates to what they're able to afford or not, right?
Right.
So let's talk about the economy by the numbers.
Sure. So the economy is important to us for two reasons. One, we have to design programs that are based on what the economy is like at the current time. So if there's need for more affordable housing, then we shift our strategic attention that way. If there's a need for more rental, then we'll shift our strategic attention that way. So we have to study the economy. And secondly, as an independent agency, we're at the mercy of the economy in terms of how we make our money, how we make our funding. So we're a financial institution, but a government-owned financial institution. So the economy is important to us for a wide number of reasons, and not just the local economy, but the global economy, because the global economy is really what dictates the cost of getting a mortgage, the cost of getting a car loan or things of that nature. So it's not just what's going on locally, we have to pay attention to what's going on around the world.
So you're talking about a wholesale strategic vision.
Yes.
And how does that work?
Well, the Finance Authority has a board, and it's a volunteer board made up of New Orleanians from each council district. And that board, even before I joined as executive director, had been developing a plan. What do we do in post-Katrina New Orleans? What does it look like? What does it look like post-housing crisis?
Right.
We had a couple of crises that we dealt with last decade. And so in coming out of it, our board began a strategic planning process. And when I joined, I came on as executive director to put in the managerial vision for it. And so that vision calls for investing in more than the single family or housing side of the equation. There's economic development investments that are needed as well. So we're applying our resources to help small businesses, to help develop better infrastructure in certain areas, as well as continuing to invest in affordable housing. And that's our plan over the next 5 years.
So you sort of have to broaden the spectrum of what you're doing to keep up with what's needed to service your clientele.
Yes, sir. Because housing, we can provide as much housing to the economy as we want, but you still need jobs. And
right.
not everyone is going to work in the industry where you're building those homes. And so jobs are important too, and having commerce in neighborhoods, it makes for a well-rounded neighborhood. So we think there are 4 things that each neighborhood needs to be quality, to be attractive, and that's home ownership, quality rental homes, commerce or small business, and quality infrastructure. So as we developed our strategic plan, we looked at those 4 basic areas and have made a decision to apply our resources in those ways. So we're developing programs that meet each 4 of those areas and satisfies a need for different cities or different neighborhoods throughout New Orleans.
So education is a big part of your program, not only educating yourself, but educating your clientele.
Yes. So even with the home ownership program that we have, we require home buyer training. For first-time home buyers must complete some form of home buyer training, and we use different organizations around the city. You had Jericho Road on earlier. We do some work with them as well, all the neighborhood organizations. So education is first, and as we expand our program offerings, education is still going to be very important. So one of the investments that we're making per our strategic plan is more money into education for housing and economic development as well. But we have some pretty good organizations throughout the city that are good at delivering education. So we partner with those education providers to serve the different borrowing groups that we work with for our variety of programs.
So you have a home buyer's checklist, I suppose.
Yes.
And how does that work?
So we want to make sure that the process is straightforward. And there's a checklist that we provide. If you go on our website, thefinanceauthority.org, you can find out more about the program. But on that website, you'll see a checklist. You'll see a list of participating lenders. You'll see a list of home buyer education providers. And what we try to impress upon individuals that come to the Finance Authority is that this is a process. You may be ready to buy a home today, but you may not buy that home for another year or 2 down the line, depending on your situation. So the education component is critical in those 2 years, or however long it takes for that person or family to get into the home. So we provide resources. We have a checklist on our website, and the idea of that checklist is to give you a step-by-step guide to qualifying for a mortgage with the Finance Authority. And so there's a number of documents that you need to have ready, your tax forms, your income, anything related to your job. All those types of documentation needs to be ready on the front end, and it just helps the process go smoother. And I know sometimes you can't always have those things ready all at once,
right?
And that's why I'm saying that the education in the meantime is really important. So we spend quite a bit of our time and money on making sure that home buyers are educated.
Yeah. You're talking about loans, but what about grants?
So we provide grants as well. We have options with our Own New Orleans program. Just a little bit more about the program.
Okay.
It provides the family with the first mortgage, but it also provides that family with down payment assistance. And that down payment assistance comes in the form of a loan or a grant. It just depends on the preference, what the family is most comfortable with. And there are pros and cons to each scenario, but we provide the families with options. So sometimes it's a grant, sometimes it's a loan. It just depends on the program and the business model of that particular program. But in the Own New Orleans situation, there are loans and grants.
Talk to me about the pros and cons that delineate between the grant and the loan.
Sure. So for the down payment loan, one of the biggest advantages is that you'll get more money. We'll give you up to 10% of your first mortgage amount. Okay. So just some quick math, if that's a $150,000 home, we'll provide you with a $15,000 second mortgage. Okay. The other benefit of that second mortgage, that loan, is that it doesn't have an interest rate. So it's a zero interest loan. You still have to pay us back over 30 years, but it's a very low monthly payment. Okay. On the flip side, there's a grant. Now with the grant, you're going to get less. You'll get up to 5% of your first mortgage amount. So if that first mortgage was $150,000, your grant will be $7,500. But the benefit of the grant is that it's a grant. And so if you stay in the home for 5 years, we forgive it. We forgive the grant. And so, the pros and cons really come down to how much the family needs, what they're comfortable paying back, and whether or not they just want a grant and would like to just walk away and be done with it. So it's all based on the situation of the family.
So it sounds like there's some relief out there in the midst of this affordable housing crisis. Mm-hmm. But how does one get to it? So
there is relief, but these programs, just so everybody knows, not just the Finance Authority's programs, but anybody's programs, these programs aren't a magic bullet. Right. And so we're not providing it we're not providing it to make people feel like we're just giving away free money and that we want you to just buy a home at no cost. That's not what we're saying at all. What we're saying is home ownership is difficult, and it's important to the people of New Orleans. It's important to the city. It's important to our economy so that we can have a decent quality of life. So we try to stimulate it, but at the same time, the market may not be ready for you to buy, or prices may be too high, what we're seeing right now. So some things are just well beyond our control, but all we can do is provide a solution that helps deal with changing market conditions. And so the reason why we're providing a down payment loan in this case of up to 10% is because we know housing prices are going up. Mm-hmm. And so we've just had to invest a little bit more of our money or find more creative ways to invest in these programs regardless of the market conditions. But we don't have full control over it. We don't have a market switch. So we just try to operate within it and make sure families aren't getting into a situation where they're worse off,
exactly,
after buying a home than they were before buying a home.
Well, you certainly sound like you have your finger on the pulse of what's happening as it relates to the housing situation and the crisis with affordable housing in particular. Thank you for being on Affordable Housing Matters, Mr. Burns, and we look forward to having you back here again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome. We would like to thank you all for watching Affordable Housing Matters this evening. And remember, if you would like to rewatch this and any other episodes of Affordable Housing Matters, go to WLAE.com and click on the programming link.